Let's go ahead and start the show off with a milestone here. A woman in Florida has gone viral as she celebrates her 100th birthday this month. Mildred Kirschenbaum actually went on a rant about how, well, we're all so negative these days. Not just young people, but some of the older generation as well.
I have friends who are 20 years younger, 15 years younger, and their attitudes are going to cause them not to survive to my age. And not grateful for anything. Their attitude is, I don't see my kids more than once a week, or the food I was served was not good. Their attitude is not acceptable. If the food isn't quite right, so have an extra dessert. If you hear from your children once a week, that's fine. They call you once a week, you call them once a week. Change your attitude. Look at the positive side of life.
It really is all about perspective and outlook. She's got a great point there. And again, happy birthday to her. How many times has a client walked in for a meeting with, their retirement guys, fearing the worst, only to walk out the door with a new attitude?
I think there's a lot to be said about having a positive attitude. I think just in this example for living a long, healthy lifestyle, and I know nobody really wants to be around people that are just negative all the time. It's just bad energy. But I would say when people come into the office, I think sometimes they fear the worst. It would be common, for somebody to come into the office and be nervous and fearful about the future, but then they walk out, I think, after meeting with us with a new attitude. If we look at the fears of retirees, the number one fear of a retiree is running out of money. Number two, stock market losses. Number three, healthcare cost. And, number four is maybe a loss of purpose. You've worked all these years, you've gotten used to the routine, going to work, the group of friends that you are associated with at work, and now, that alarm clock can be turned off, and it's a new chapter in life. And what does that look like? And, how do I paint that picture? And I think by coming into the office and meeting with us, how we help them get a new attitude is really developing some solutions. So, number one, I know we show people the probability of success and their ability to make sure that they have enough money, that they're not going to run out of money. And then we can also talk about adding in solutions of vehicles that provide income. So really in retirement, all roads lead to income, and there's many different vehicles. It's what we have talked about as far as a mind shift of moving from growth and accumulation to now using those investment assets to provide income. Number two, when we look at the stock market loss and risk, we talk about discussing non-market risk investments and understanding where the market fits, plus understanding what you own. I know, Chaz, you do a great job when you have somebody come to the office and you ask them to explain what is the methodology or the philosophy or the process that your current advisor is using. And I would ask you, the listener today, do you really understand the philosophy, the methodology, and the process that's being used to purchase the investments that you have? Because if not, you might be in that situation where the stock market losses can become more fearful for you and create an emotional decision. Unfortunately, that could be a painful decision that we don't want you to have. But once you have a better understanding about your investment process, it could help you deal a little bit with the fear of stock market losses. Number three is healthcare cost. And, with healthcare cost, whether it's the fact that 40% of people are forced into retirement early because of the fact that they or a loved one is facing some type of healthcare challenge, and or feeling with the issue of losing control and slowing down later in life, and ultimately all the way down to a nursing home. That's exactly why we have, Scott, Troy, and our team and America's Medicare Associates, taking that comprehensive approach and kind of putting things together. I've seen one example after another where somebody had come into the office and had worried and had a fear of thousands of dollars a month of the healthcare cost. And by working with us and looking at it from a financial perspective, developing a plan that can actually reduce, in some cases, 50% of what that healthcare expense could be, by looking at other solutions and how the Affordable Care Act works with an income versus an asset test and kind of repositioning things. And then, the last one is the lack of purpose. If you watched the show, we've had a lot of great people that we've done interviews on the show and are committed to the 419 section. And a lot of these organizations, these nonprofits here in Northwest Ohio, the backbone of these organizations is volunteers. And so helping a client figure out what their purpose is might involve things like getting involved in an organization that that is important to them, some charitable cause that maybe they can give back to veterans or animals or anything that's kind of important to them. And we really do a good job, I think, of helping people put that blueprint in place. So, Chaz, I know you probably have some feedback too, but I would just say if you're listening and you have a fear about one of these topics, running out of money, the stock market and what's going to happen in the future, your healthcare cost or loss of a purpose, and you want a better blueprint and a map for going forward, let's talk. That's exactly what we do here at America's Retirement Headquarters. Now, Chaz, when you have somebody come in and they're talking about changing your perspective on retirement planning, and you're taking some of the fears that they have and turning them into positives, what are the type of things that you're typically running into?
Yeah, a lot of the things that you talked about, Nolan, I mean, you gave a great summary, and I think retirement anxiety is something that's common. It's a natural phenomenon. In fact, just anytime I think you're changing anything in your life, it creates a little bit of stress and anxiety. So I guess the first tip that I would give to clients and potential retirees is just to expect that, to know that there's going to be some change and that you're going to be going through some emotions, and whether it's excitement at first, relief, sadness, boredom, anger, whatever it is, just know that that's normal, and you got to try to find some healthy ways to express those feelings. Maybe talking to someone, writing them out in a journal, walking through a financial plan with a financial advisor. What that really helps people do, in my experience, is it helps kind of structure retirement. I think the key word there for me would be structure. Having some sort of routine, I think, is going to help retirees feel a little bit more organized, feel more productive, rather than just, I hear oftentimes, well, every day is a Saturday, I'm just kind of probably going to hang around and hang out. That's probably not the best way to structure retirement. You're going to want to have some activities, some hobbies, learning, going back to school maybe, volunteering, like you said, or one of my favorites, traveling. It's not hard to find places to go to in the United States and around. So have just kind of a small set of goals, realistic goals, kind of set in the back of your mind that you want to try to work towards. Finding purpose, like you had mentioned, joining community groups, and maybe even mentoring someone. I know me personally, it's been a pleasure having your niece here, Kaylin. She did a great job. We've had some other interns come to the office, and I find like I'm normally the one that I feel like I want to pass my knowledge on to somebody, a younger generation. I'm totally comfortable with teaching them everything they know. I don't always teach them everything I know, but I think that's a great opportunity to a great behavior and a coping skill if you're feeling some anxiety in retirement, is to find somebody, a child or family friend to mentor, and then make sure you're taking care of yourself. I think that's one of the biggest things. Living well, having a balanced diet, having a good outlook on retirement, and getting enough sleep. That's an important thing. So just kind of staying in touch with your doctor, making sure you're following the recommendations, all the regular preventative care and screening that you can do to make sure that the time that you're in retirement is an enjoyable one. So ultimately, it is the beginning of a new journey, but it can be a little bit daunting, and that's okay. Working with a financial professional, we can help you sort out some of those feelings of anxiety.
Not getting enough sleep is definitely one of those things when it comes to my son. It's a do as I say, not as I do. We opened the show talking about major life changes, dropping the kids off at college, or perhaps a puppy appearing in Chaz's household in the near future. Retirement is obviously a major change, and there could be a lot of anxiety going into it because it is unknown. It's one of those things that you hope you only have to do once. You don't want to unretire by any means. And that unknown sometimes prohibits people from seeking answers because they're afraid that what their concerns are will be validated. I challenge you to do the opposite. Actually have that conversation. You may be pleasantly surprised. You may find out you're in better shape than you thought you were, and your retirement can actually proceed as you had hoped for. Or worst case scenario, and I don't even really want to say it's the worst, is that you find out, yes, there are steps you need to take, but now you know what the steps are, and you can get back on track towards, hopefully that retirement that you've always envisioned. The first step, picking up the phone, scheduling time to speak with America's Retirement Headquarters, 419-794-3030. Once again, 419-794-3030, or you can always go online as well, arhq.com.